instructions transmitted by men, and therefore it is a what do they call it? Term is not important. However, the Quran was transmitted in the same way. The Quran was carried over the centuries in the same way Hadith was carried. And many times the same people that carried the same chain of transmission of Hadith would be at times the chain of transmission of Quran. So the same men that carried the Quran, that preserved the Quran from Rasulullah up until today are also the same people that transmitted the Hadith of Rasulullah from his time up until today. And they may differ. They are scholars of Hadith, and they are known as the Ruwat, the narrators of the Hadith. And then you have Qurra, who are known as the people that carried, and they carry the ijazat and the asanid in Quran to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. The point I'm making is that those muhaddithin and those Qurra, all of them, they are scholars of deen, and they are people who transmitted from their teachers. How different is the transmission of the Quran in terms of a chain of transmission to that of Hadith? How different is it? That is a scholar or a person, that is one person, that is one person, that is one person. So if you are rejecting Hadith simply because of the chain of transmission, then perhaps you should reconsider the extent of you accepting the Quran as well, because the Quran also came to us by a chain of transmission such as the Hadith. While the Quran, yes, there has been tawatur, there has been what is known, tawatur is an undisputed chain of transmission from the time of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. A tawatur is tawatur, the narration, or that what is being transmitted has been transmitted from one generation to another generation. In each and every generation there is a plethora of narrators, which mean a large amount of narrators. يستحيل تواطؤهم على الكذب. It is impossible that they all could have colluded together to have created a lie or fabrication. So the scholars of Hadith, they speak about numbers and so on, but the long and the short of it is that the criteria is it's impossible that all of them could have created a lie. And in every generation it is like that. So that's within Quran. Within Hadith, many Hadith are narrated also via tawatur. So some of them, they say we only accept those Hadith that were narrated via tawatur. And a Hadith that is not narrated via a chain that is mutawatir, we don't accept it. We don't accept it. And we don't at all accept a Hadith that is not at the level of tawatur. And as a result of that, they would reject most of the Hadith in Bukhari and most of the Hadith in Sahih Muslim, all the other books of Sunnah. And then one of the beliefs is that they do not make 5 salahs. They do not make 5 salahs, because why? The Quran doesn't speak about 5 salahs. The Quran only mentions 3 salahs. It is the morning, the evening, and the middle prayer. Morning, evening, and the middle prayer. So they only have. There's also no specific sequence in how salah should be made. So the Quran don't say first stand, and then ruku, and then sujood, and then sit, and then go to sujood, and then come up again, and then tashahud, and then salam, takbir al-ihram, and don't say those things. It says about يذكرون الله قياما وقعودا, you're sitting and you're standing, and all the time speaks about ruku and sujood. But in terms of the sequence, that's not to be found in the Quran. That is to be found in the Hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, where the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam explained to the person, al-musii salatu, one of the most famous detailed hadith in salah is the person who never performed the salah well. So the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam explained to him, and he said, "Qum, and then حتى تطمئن قائما, and then ثم تركع حتى تطمئن راكعا, ثم تعتدل, and then So the Prophet explains to him the entire salah, and that then is transmitted as the sequence in how salah should be performed. This ayah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, حافظوا على الصلوات والصلاة الوسطى وقوموا لله قانتين. whilst they use this ayah to say that these 3 salahs, a person who has a proper understanding of the Arabic language would realize it very quickly that this hadith, this ayah actually establishes that there are 5 salahs. This ayah establishes that there are 5 salahs. How? So Allah says, حافظوا على الصلوات. Preserve and uphold the salawat. What is salawat? Plural or singular? Plural. What is the minimum of plural in the Arabic language?
3.
Can I say 2? So if I say 2, then it should be الصلاتان والصلاتين, because it comes after حرف jar. على is حرف jar, and after it will be اسم مجرور, so it will be حافظوا على الصلاتين. Right. But all don't say صلاتين, because it will be صلاتين is 2, والصلاة الوسطى and the middle. So it would be 3. So 2 and 3, 2 and 1, middle one would be 3. But it can't be. Salawat can't be 2, because Allah already said salatain. So the next minimum would be how much? 3. So you say, okay, 3 salats is the minimum for a plural and a middle prayer. Where are you going to put the middle prayer? It's not going to be middle anyway. So you need to add the 4th one, and the middle prayer would be between the 2. See? So the ayah in its very self, the way it's constructed, establishes that it's 5 salahs. That would be the minimum to understand the ayah correctly. Salawat is plural, the middle prayer. If it is plural, it's 3. Where are you going to put the middle prayer? There's no middle, because it's 3. The middle will be 2. So in order to understand, for the salat al-wusta, the middle prayer to make sense, you add another one which makes it 4, and then you put the middle prayer, and then it will be Fajr and Dhuhr, and the middle will be Asr, and then Maghrib and Isha. That is the proper understanding. But the issue that we have is that many of them do not understand linguistics. They don't understand Lugha. So for them to appreciate that ayah establishes that there's actually 5 salats. A minimum 5 salats. If you want to say 6, 7, yes you can. You can possibly say more, 6 or 7. But that's not the argument on their side. The argument is that there's no 5, so there's only 3. We're telling you no. They establishes 5. And we believe that it's 5 salahs, and that's the minimum, and it coincides with the hadith of Rasulullah. 5 salahs. But because of the lack of understanding and the ignorance and the jahl that has overpowered them, and then with their nafs and their egos, Allah Ta'ala save us from those deviant thoughts and deviant beliefs, Ya Rabbil Alameen, and grant them guidance to the ad-din al-mustaqim. So the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, he says, Sallu kama ra'aytumuni usalli. Perform your salah the way you saw me perform my salah. And salah is the first thing that the person will be questioned about on the day of Qiyamah. And salah is the purification of the person from sin. It's a means of purification from the sin. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is sitting one day with his companions, and he tells them, أرأيتم لو أن نهرا بباب أحدكم. If there was a nahr, a river that flows past your door every day, it flows across your door, and every day you would jump in the river 5 times. Jump in the river 5 times a day, you jump in the river. Rasulullah says, هل يبقى من درنه شيء? Is there any filth that will remain on his body after 5 times jumping in the river, bathing in the river? So they said, لا يا رسول الله. So he said, فكذلك الصلوات الخمس. Similarly is the 5 salawat. Your 5 times bath per day would cleanse you from all dirt. Your 5 salats cleanses you from sins. Allah forgives your sins. So how is it that a person does not see the importance of salah, and one is negligent to a point that the person for the slightest reason will delay or even make his salah out of his waqt. Because for the slightest reason, he's just preoccupied, he doesn't have time, he's busy in a meeting, and because he's in a meeting, couldn't make salah, so I'll make salah when I get home. After, I'll make asr with maghrib. لا خير في مال يغني عن الصلاة, the Prophet says, there's no benefit in if it distracts you from salah. Sayyidina Umar ibn Khattab radiallahu ta'ala anhu, when he was stabbed by Abu Lulu al-Majusi in Fajr Salah, and Abu Lulu al-Majusi took his dagger and then he put poison on it, and then as Sayyidina Umar led the Salah of Fajr, he ran and he stabbed Sayyidina Umar, and then he stabbed a few of the other companions in the first half, and then he ran. Eventually they caught him, but when they took him home, Sayyidina Umar, because he couldn't complete his Salah, he immediately dropped, and then Sayyidina Abdul Rahman ibn Auf stepped forward and he continued the Salah. So when they took him home and he was laying there and he hadn't completed his Salah, so one of the companions told him, Ya Amir al-Mu'mineen, there is no share in Islam for a person who doesn't make Salah. In that state he's busy. Yeah. So Sayyidina Umar al-Khattab tells him, and then he sits up and they try to cover up even the wounds and makes his Salah. And then he dies after that. He doesn't live long after that. He passes away. On the battle of Uhud, in the battle of Uhud, when the Prophet ﷺ returned from Uhud, and we know Uhud was a very difficult battle for the Sahaba and Rasulullah ﷺ, because of the companions when they didn't follow the instructions of Rasulullah ﷺ. They told them, those who are on the mountain should stay on the mountain until they receive instructions from me. And then those who are on the mountain, they so to say, won the battle. Khalid ibn Walid was still one of the generals on the other side before he became Muslim. And then they saw that now the battle is like, so to say, 90-95% won by the Muslims, because they were on the mountain with the it is called Jabal al-Rumah for those who went to Uhud, the mountain of the archers. And they were standing there, and then whoever the Quraysh never expected them, and they came up from the mountain, and they were shooting those the enemies from the back. So they had a Muslim from the front and they were from the back, so they ambushed. So eventually when they saw that the battle was basically, so to say, almost won, they came down. Khalid ibn Walid saw this an opportunity and he went behind them, and then he came, and then they were sandwiched and they were ambushed. As a result of it, many of the Sahaba lost their lives. And the Prophet ﷺ was injured, that his shukka jabinuhu, his forehead was split, وشق وجنتيه, and his cheek, وكسرت رباعية, some of his tooth ﷺ was broken, ودخل حلق المغفر في وجنتيه, some of the rings that was on his head armor went into his cheeks, ﷺ, went into, at 2-3 years it went into his cheeks. And one of the companions still took his teeth and he put it out of the cheek of Rasulullah ﷺ to get it out, and when he put it, he lost his tooth, and then he put the other one and he lost his other tooth. So radiallahu ta'ala anhu, it was a very difficult time. And in Sa'd ibn Abi Waqqas, Sa'd ibn Abi Waqqas was he looked very much like Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He resembled the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. His eyes looked like Rasulullah. So when he had his arm on and he was killed, he was martyred on that day. He was laying there, and they saw him, and they saw his eyes. So they thought it was Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. It was laying there, and that's how the rumor started. Rasulullah was martyred. Rasulullah was killed, and that's how they thought that Rasulullah was killed. And then فَشَاعَ بَيْنَ الصَّحَابَةِ, the companions became, they became very, they became
Stable.
unstable, and because Rasulullah was killed. And then when the battle then ended and they went back to Medina, when they eventually returned back to Medina, on their way, there was a lot of them that were wounded. There's a lot of them that were wounded. In this battle, Sayyidina Hamza, the uncle of the Prophet also passed. radiallahu ta'ala. So there was a lot of wounded, and Rasulullah was injured, and many of the companions, they couldn't even walk. So what used to happen is, because they couldn't walk, or they were injured, they couldn't walk for long distances, then the one companion would carry the other one on his back. And then he would walk a little bit until he can't. Then he, the one is injured, he would then carry the other one. And then he would walk a little bit, so they would give each the other an opportunity to rest. And then when it came the call for salah, some of them were being treated by the family. Came the call for salah, they wanted to get up and they couldn't. So they used to call their brothers from the Ansar and the Muhajirin, and they used to tell them, I need someone to help me to go to the masjid, to go make salah. فَكَانَ يُهَادَى بَيْنَ الرَّجُلَيْنِ. Then when you used to come to the masjid, they used to like sandwich him in the saf. So like one would stand with his shoulder, and the other one would sandwich him with his shoulder in order so he can just stand in salah. So he can stand in salah to be able to, otherwise if they move away then he was going to drop down. فَكَانَ يُهَادَى بَيْنَ الرَّجُلَيْنِ. At times you lean on them in order to be able to make salah. To this extent was the Sahaba, was how they used to observe the salah. Today, subhanAllah, like we look for the slightest excuse not to be able to, never mind sit in salah, like just not salah at all, not salah at all. Like some of the, even though like al-qiyamu fi salah is one of the arkan of salah, to stand, al-qiyamu ma'al qudra, stand while you are able to do so, it is one of the arkan of salah. And if you are able to stand, you're not standing in the first salah, then your salah is batil. Then you find a person, like some people tell me, they see the person he's in the gym, and he's on the treadmill, come in the masjid and sit on the chair. Sits on the chair, makes salah. SubhanAllah. Perhaps he's not Shafi'i. Perhaps he's a Hanafi, then he isn't makhraj for him. But the point is not to criticize, the point is that to what extent and what length did the Sahaba go to make salah? And to what extent did they go to exert themselves to ensure that the salah was, they observed the salah in the manner in how Rasulullah used to make salah. Salawatu Rabbi wa salamu alayhi. Then after they were done salah and they're going home now, the Prophet ﷺ called again out and he said, ألا من خرج معنا إلى غزوة أحد فليخرج معنا إلى حمراء الأسد. And what happened was that Quraysh wasn't satisfied. They weren't satisfied, and they felt that no, we need to now completely annihilate Muhammad ﷺ and his companions. They're now at the weakest, so now we need to finish him off. So the Prophet ﷺ came to years, they were camping out in Hamra al-Asad, which is not too far from Medina. And so Rasulullah ﷺ said, whoever has joined us for Uhud, they must go with us now to Hamra al-Asad. Yeah, these companions that had wounds, and they eventually they got up and then they went to the Rasulullah. So when the Prophet comes to Hamra al-Asad, and he looks and he says, Aina fulan wa fulan wa fulan. I say, we don't see him. So the Prophet says, if they eventually come, then you send him into me. So the Prophet ﷺ camped there with the Sahaba, and they put up the tents, and the Prophet ﷺ instructs that they must make, one of the Sahaba's advices, I think, his recommendation was that they must make multiple fires. A lot of fires, so that the Quraysh, when they see the amount of fires, they would think that there are more people than were within the Uhud. So they would realize that no, the Prophet ﷺ, he received backup that came to assist him. So eventually, when those companions came, so the Prophet ﷺ, so they said, Rasulullah is looking for you. So they went and said, Ya Rasulullah. So he said, Ma khallafakum anna. What caused you to come on in? So they said, Ya Rasulullah, that we were injured in the battle. And the only way that we could have come here was that I would get on the back of my brother, the Sahabi, then he would carry me with the word, and then when he can't anymore, then I walk and he gets on my back, and that's the reason that we only came down. So the Prophet ﷺ made dua for them. He made dua for those companions. And then he says the importance of Salatul Asr is that Salatul Asr, one of the reasons why this verse was حافظوا على الصلاة والصلاة الوسطى was that in the Prophet ﷺ is one of his ghazawat, so he made salah to dhuhr in the manner the way they normally make salah, and the mushrikeen wasn't far from him, and the mushrikeen could see him, so they were in the eyes of the mushrikeen. And so they completed their salah. So the mushrikeen said, if you were to attack them while they are making salah, then you would be able to defeat them. And so some of the other mushrikeen said, no, they have a salah after this, which is Salat al-Asr. هي أحب إليهم من آبائهم وأبنائهم. That salah is more beloved to them than their own fathers and their children, which is Salat al-Asr. So Jibreel came down, and then he came down with the verse of Salat al-Khawf. وإذا كنت فيهم فأقمت لهم الصلاة فلتكن طائفة منهم معك وليأخذوا أسلحتهم فإذا سجدوا. And the manner in which Salat al-Khawf is to be, where some standing behind and others will be performing, make the rak'ahs, and then others will follow, and they again would watch. That's just Salat al-Khawf, the salah of fear. It was legislated.
Now, the ritual prayer has an outward form and an inward reality. No prayer can be perfect or complete without both being performed properly. As for the outward form, it is standing up, recitation, bowing down, prostrating, and other such components of outward prayer. As for the inward reality, it is humility, presence of the heart, perfect sincerity, reflection, and understanding of the meanings of what is being recited, tasbih, and all the other components of inward prayer. The outward form of the prayer thus belongs to the body and the senses, while its inward belongs to the heart and its secret and the secret. The heart and the secret are the location upon which falls the gaze of the real. Imam Al Haddad, may Allah have mercy on him, says, the likeness of he who performs the outward form of the prayer but neglects its inward reality is that of he who, wishing to offer a great king a gift, gives him a dead maid. As for he who performs the outward form of the prayer incorrectly, he is like one who offers the king a maid whose limbs have been cut off and whose eyes have been plucked out. Both are exposing themselves to punishment and perhaps torture because of their disrespect and contempt for the king. Says Ghazali, you offer your prayer but to your Lord. Beware of offering one like that, thereby deserving punishment. It is part of keeping the prayer with care and propriety to perform ritual ablutions to perfection and carefully keep one's body, clothes and place of prayer pure. The Prophet ﷺ said, ritual purity is the key to the prayer, and in another hadith, ritual purity is half of faith. Complete ritual ablution is to repeat each of its motions 3 times, being neither too obsessive nor too neglectful. Obsessions in either ritual purification or prayer are from Shaitan, who confuses thereby those whose knowledge is deficient and reason weak. One of our predecessors said, obsessions are due either to ignorance of the Sunnah or mental illness. The way of our predecessors in ritual purification is the praiseworthy manner of doing things, and so it is in all other things, for they are our exemplars, and we should emulate them. To renew one's wudu for each prayer is of the Sunnah. Maintaining oneself in a constant state of ritual purity is something to be encouraged and has many benefits. It has reached us that Allah said to Musa alayhi salam, should a calamity afflict you when you are not in ritual purity, blame only yourself. Many authentic hadiths exist to the effect that he who performs his ritual ablution with care and all his sins are cast off the various parts of his body, and he enters the prayer pure from sins.
So he says, the salah has an outer and the salah has an inner. The outer is to fulfill all the arkan of salah, such as the qiyam, ruku', sujood, all those things. The batin, the aspect of the salah is khushu', presence of the heart, sincerity, pondering about the Quran, tasbih, and whatever goes with the inner meanings of salah. The zahir of the salah is the body aspect of it. The batin of the salah is what relates to the heart and your inner secret. Imam Al Ghazali says, the one who establishes the zahir part of salah, the apparent part of salah, and neglects the batin, the inner part of salah, it is like a person who gives to a king a gift of a maid or sifa, and she's dead and she's a dead corpse. She maninga already and she has a maid too. And the one who is the one who gives, the one who's not neglects the zahir part of salah is like a person who gives to the king a maid, but her limbs is cut off and her nose is cut off and her eyes is out and she didn't comply with the external aspects of kind of salah. So at another juncture he says, فهو بالعقاب أولى من الثواب. He is more likely to be punished than be rewarded. Because the king's going to tell him, "Atastahzi'u bi? Are you mocking me? You want to give me a gift and give me a dead body? You taking me once now for احبسوه اطردوه عذبوه." Right? وهكذا. What must I do with a maid that is blind? She's a liability. She is not an asset to me. What must I do? She's got no arms. She can't work. She can't do anything. So فلذلك he says you have to have the zahir and the batin of salah. And a person who the salah was given to Rasulullah on the night of Mi'raj. He received 3 gifts. Right? 3 gifts. The first gift that the Prophet received on the night of Mi'raj was salah. The second one was the last verses of Surah Al-Baqarah. And the third one was that Allah Ta'ala guaranteed that the sins of his ummah would be the kabair of his ummah would be forgiven, provided they don't associate partners with Allah. So those are the 3 gifts that Rasulullah received. So when Rasulullah was in the hadra of Allah, in the presence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and he witnessed the ladha, the sweetness of being in Allah's presence, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala then rewarded Rasulullah by telling that I will give you a gift of which if you were to do it, then you will taste the same sweetness as you have tasted when you were in my hadra. And that's when you enter into salah. The abd in salah is fi munajatin ma rabbi. He is in communication with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So, and hence why Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam used to say, جُعِلَتْ قُرَّةُ عَيْنِي في الصلاة. The coolness of my eyes is in salah. And when the time of salah used to come, he used to say, أَرِحْنَا بِهَا Ya Bilal, oh Bilal, bring comfort to our ears with salah. He used to yearn to make salah because why? It reminded him of the night of Mi'raj when he met Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that was the communication, that the feeling that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam had when he was in salah. If the person doesn't, if he's not sincere in his salah, and he's not present with Allah, and he has not tasted these meanings, then it becomes difficult for him to make salah. So the one who doesn't fear Allah, and he's not present with Allah in salah, and he doesn't do it sincerely, he doesn't taste the sweetness of it. And if he hasn't tasted the sweetness, it is difficult for him to make salah. Allah says, وَإِنَّهَا لَكَبِيرَةٌ وَاسْتَعِينُوا بِالصَّبْرِ وَالصَّلَاةِ وَإِنَّهَا لَكَبِيرَةٌ إِلَّا عَلَى الْخَاشِعِينَ. Salah is a difficult thing for those who are not khashiyah, those who are not sincere, not present with Allah Ta'ala in salah. So Al-Habib Abdul Rahman bin Ubaidillah Saqaf, he hires a day worker, 2 day workers. He hires them to come do a job for him. The one pitch up, the other doesn't pitch up. So eventually he tells him, listen young man, I need 2 people to do this job. You alone can't do this job. This is a job for 2 people. You're not going to be able to do anything. So it's okay, you cannot go. I don't need you. So he says, no, I want my daily rate because I already booked myself out. If I knew, then I could have taken another job. But I booked myself now, so he was paying me my daily rate. So he said, yeah, but it didn't work. He said, doesn't matter. I didn't know, but I booked myself out for this day that you're going to give me work. He said, but if someone else was, if there was another person, then I could have given you the work you done. He said, I don't want my daily. I've availed myself. And so he said, okay, in that case, if I'm going to have to pay you, there's a masjid. Go to the masjid, take wudu, and make 2 rakahs. And when you're done with 2 rakahs, you go again and take wudu, and you make 2 rakahs. And even in 2 rakahs, you take wudu, and I'm going to pay you for your daily. He said, is that the job? He said, no, I don't have work for you. But saying I'm going to pay you, you might as well bring good deeds for me. So I'm paying you, you go take wudu, and you take 2 rakahs, and take wudu, and make 2 rakahs, take wudu. They said, hey, keep your job. Keep your money. وإنها لكبيرة إلا على الخاشعين. And it is difficult for the person. You're getting paid to make salah. He says, ومن المحافظة على الصلاة والإقامة لها كمال الطهارة والاحتياط فيها في البدن والثوب والمكان. Your badan, your body, your thawb, your garment, your makan, the place of salah has to be tahir. Those are from the conditions of salah قبل الدخول فيها. Who entering into salah, it is known as من شروط صحة الصلاة قبل الدخول فيها. The conditions that makes your salah valid before entering into salah. What is it? العلم بدخول الوقت. You must know that the waqt has entered. العلم بدخول الوقت. You can't make salah for dhuhr and it's not dhuhr. استقبال القبلة. Before you make salah, you must face the qibla. طهارة الثوب والبدن والمكان. You have to, your badan, your body has to be clean, your garment has to be clean, and the place you make salah has to be clean. وقال وستر العورة, and the covering of the awrah. Awrah has to be, والعبرة بستر العورة, and the satr al-awrah is what is seen from the top and the sides, and not from the bottom. Meaning, if the person stands on the balcony and he's making salah, and someone stands at the bottom and you can see the awrah from the bottom, his salah is still valid. The ibrah is from what is seen from the top and from the side. So if his side is makshuf, side is open and exposed, salah is batil. If his top is open to an extent that yadharu, you can see, right? You can see maybe below his navel, then his salah is not valid. And that it Allah yudhiru lawn al-bashra. The color of the skin must not be seen through the clothing. So over and above that, you must be clothed. Like for example, the man now, what is awrah in salah is ma bayna surati wal rukbah, between the surah and the rukbah. The awrah of a lady in salah is jami'u badaniha, entire body except the wajh wal kaffayn. Right? So if his surah and between surah and his rukbah is covered beneath his navel and above his knee, but he needs to cover a little bit of his navel, as we mentioned, and he needs to cover at least a part of his knee in order so that the wajib is covered. But now the clothing that he wears is transparent clothing. It's transparent, you can see right through it. Salah is not. لأنه يظهر لون البشر. If the person makes salah in a and it mustn't be something that is in also. Like, say I'm standing in a tent now, but the person is naked in a tent, but he's got a tent around him. Even if it's a small tent, like a one-man tent, so over him. لا يجزئه. It's not. It doesn't suffice him. Right? Because it's not considered as a thawb, as a garment. Now, قال عليه الصلاة والسلام الطهور مفتاح الصلاة. الطهور شطر الإيمان. In order to be able to enter into salah, you have to be in a state of tahara. So the tahara is your key to salah. Tahara is equivalent to half of iman. And you have to make isbagh of your wudu. You have to complete your wudu and ensure that it reaches all the places. Perfect your wudu. And على المكاره على المثنايا والمعاطف, in the folds, where there are folds in your joints, make sure that it reaches under your elbow, where there's excess skin, make sure that it reaches all of those between your toes, make sure that it reaches إسباغ الوضوء عن المكاره وتثليثه, and that you should take wudu thrice. This thrice is Sunnah or farz? Sunan al-wudu, from the sunan of wudu. At-tathlith min sunan al-wudu. Min ghayri waswasatin wala israf. Without any waswasa. Israf is wasting. Waswasa is what? Without any. Again, 3, 4, 5, 6. Did I make it now? Now you by your feet, you look at your arms. I didn't. Okay, we do the arm again. That is a trick of shaitan. In order to delay him to either miss the jama'ah, or to delay the salah out of the waqt of fadila, out of the preferred time. So shaitan keeps him busy then. It takes, even with istinja also. That istinja and then he stands and makes wudu. He will sit again and then make his istinja again. And then he goes again, takes wudu. He says, I think I must rather shower me. And now the person showers. It happens. This was what's happening. Rather now he showers him up. The person obsessed. Now he showers him. After he's not done showering, okay, alhamdulillah, now the person is now finished. And now how long passed now? Half an hour passed, 45 minutes. Now imagine every time this happens, if the person delays, if he's consistent enough, mashallah, but at the very least he delays his waqt, or he missed the jama'ah. He's not going to get jama'ah in the masjid. Or he's not going to get jama'ah, or he's going to delay it out of the fadila, which is the beginning of the waqt. If this continues, it leads to a person becoming despondent, and then he becomes lazy in having to perform salah. Because now, I'm going to shower now, I'll do it a bit later. Because imagine you want to shower every time you break your wudu, you want to have to go shower. So you see, that was what it leads to. Eventually it leads to the person leaving the salah. And we've dealt with people like that, and we've seen how the consequence of it is. Punctual salah, after the waswasa and after the obsession, you tell the person what's your condition. I say, I'm a bit lazy, I'm lax on my salah, I'm not performing salah on time, I miss some salahs. Why? Because you've allowed shaitan to set for you a criteria that is not necessary. One of the scholars in Iskandariya was old, I don't know if he's still alive. When he was teaching Bukhari, and then he came to the chapter where he was speaking about wudu and so on, and he spoke about waswasa, and then he said, Shuf, ana aqul lakum the ilaj of the waswasa, and the scholars have different remedies for waswasa, how to deal with that in certain adhkar, and so he says, I know all these remedies, but you know the base remedies for waswasa, for obsession, when you get that voices here in your mind that tells you, do it over, you didn't do it right, wipe again, okay, go back, start to do over it. He says the best thing is shaitan. I swear shaitan, like an ugly word. And he used like a very ugly word. Yeah, in scars. I don't want to use it. But yeah, all of you know, mashallah, the German language. You see, you say it out loud if you have to. You say it out loud and you just continue. I don't know, I didn't try it, but Allah save us from waswasa. It is a true disease, and when the person latches onto it and it doesn't, and it is as if the person can't get beyond it. You tell the person, just continue. No, but they feel that salah is not, it's fine, salah is not perfect, it's okay, but just make it. If you want to make it again later on, after you shower, do it, but now do it as is. Do it with it the way you feel that you're still dirty, make salah like that. Make salah, you feel that you missed a part, it's fine. Once you start ignoring, it becomes less and less and less. But the more you entertain it, the more louder it becomes, the greater the obsession becomes. It doesn't decrease. You have to disregard it. And in this case now the Sheikh said you must fluke on it. And then he says, بلغنا أن الله تعالى قال لموسى, to reach us, and Allah Ta'ala told Nabi Musa, which is narrated to us. Allah Ta'ala informed Nabi Musa alayhi salam, إذا أصابك مصيبة, if a calamity befalls you and you are not in a state of tahara, then you have no one else to blame except yourself. الوضوء سلاح المؤمن. The wudu is the armor of the believer. You must never leave your house if you're in a state, not in a state of tahara. A state of hadath. Try not to leave your house in a state of hadath. You should never leave your house in a state of janaba. Habib Muhammad Idrus when he was young, so I was asking him some questions, and so one of the discussion came up about possessions. People are possessed and so on, and reading and ruqya and so on. So he said most of the cases that we found of possessions is because people leave their house, they're either in a state of janaba or in a state of hadath. When we eventually traced it, we saw that this person was possessed after he left the house. He never had wudu or he needed to take wudu. And the second is if the person negligent his salah. So these two, leaving home in a state of janaba or in a state of hadath, or not punctual with your salah, meaning skipping salah, these two are the most, but a part of sihr now. Part of sihr, these two are the most prominent reasons why people get afflicted with positions. You see, some of them, yes, they do get afflicted. If they have wudu, if they're not in a state of janab, but this is khafif. It's very light. And to treat it is very easy. But once you're in a state of hadath and janaba, and it latches onto you, then it becomes much more difficult to remove it. It takes a lot of effort and so on. But when they latch onto you, onto the Allah, when they latch onto the person and is in a state of tahara, it is like very light. It's just like something, as opposed to maybe like something that is just surface dirty, and take the water and wash it off. As opposed to something that the dirt went into the fabric. And now you require detergents, and you have to now go through a rigorous cleaning process in order, and one wash after the other wash, and one detergent after the other, until you get lighter. And at times it don't come completely out, and it's still slight traces of it. But this is if the person is in a state of wudu, then it's very khafif, and it's easy to, and it doesn't leave any traces behind. So the tahara, always make sure. If there's anything that you can take home tonight, is that never leave your home if you're not in a state of tahara. And if you break your wudu, hasten to take wudu again. Hasten to take wudu. If you're outside in the road and you break your wudu, hasten wherever you are able to take wudu, and never let you find yourself in a state that you are not pure. نكتفي بهذا إن شاء الله. الله ينفعنا بكلام الصالحين. ورزقنا بهم رزقا لا ينحل إلى في الدنيا والبرزخ ويوم الدين. واجعلنا من عباده المتقين الذين هم على صلاتهم من المحافظين وفي صلاتهم من الخاشعين. وأن نصلي كما صلى سيدنا المرسلين وإمام المتقين وقائد غر المحجلين، وأن الله سبحانه وتعالى يرزقنا ربطا به في صلاتنا وفتوحات وفتوحات، ونحوز الأسرار الباطنة في الصلاة يا رب العالمين. اللهم اجعل قرة عيننا في الصلاة. اللهم اجعل قرة عيننا في الصلاة. اللهم اجعل قرة عيننا في الصلاة، واجعل مناجاتنا مناجاة أهل الصلاح وأهل القرب أهل المعرفة بك، وأذقنا حلاوة الصلاة يا رب العالمين. أذقنا حلاوة الصلاة يا أرحم الراحمين. أذقنا حلاوة مناجاتك يا رب العالمين. اجعلنا نستشعر معاني أرحنا بها يا بلاد. اجعلنا نستشعر تلك المعاني يا رب العالمين. يا مولى الموال، يا ذا العطايا الجزال، يا كبير يا متعال، يا من يعطي ولا يبالي، يا مولى الموالي. نسألك بالنبي المصطفى محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم أن ترزقنا ذلك وتبلغنا ما هنالك وتسلك بنا أشرف المسالك، إنك على كل شيء قدير. وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. اللهم إنا نسألك يا إلهنا فرجا لإخوة حبيبي لأحبائنا وإخواننا في فلسطين، خاصة في غزة وفي رفح وفي الضفة الغربية وفي بيت المقدس وأكناف بيت المقدس. اللهم أعينهم، اللهم أيدهم، اللهم انصرهم، اللهم أمدهم، اللهم ارزقهم فتوحات من عندك يا رب العالمين، وأمدهم بمدد من عندك يا أكرم الأكرمين. اللهم إن الكفار لا يعجزونك، وإنه لا يعلم جنودك إلا أنت، فأنزل عليهم مددك وجنودك يا رب العالمين. وكلهم كما كنت لحبيبك محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وأصحابه يوم بدر يا رب العالمين يا أرحم الراحمين يا أرحم الراحمين يا أرحم الراحمين. وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وسلم. الفاتحة إلى حضرة الله.
السلام عليك السلام عليك زين الأنبياء، السلام عليك السلام عليك زين الأنبياء، السلام عليك السلام عليك أتقى الأتقياء، السلام عليك السلام عليك أتقى الأتقياء، السلام عليك السلام عليك أزكى الأزكياء، السلام عليك السلام عليك أزكى الأزكياء، السلام عليك السلام عليك أصفى الأصفياء، السلام عليك السلام عليك أصفى الأصفياء، السلام عليك السلام عليك من رب السماء، السلام عليك السلام عليك من رب السماء، السلام عليك السلام عليك دائم بلا انقضاء، السلام عليك السلام عليك دائم بلا انقضاء، السلام عليك السلام عليك أحمد يا حبيبي، السلام عليك السلام عليك أحمد يا حبيبي، السلام عليك السلام عليك طه يا طبيبي، السلام عليك السلام عليك طه يا طبيبي، السلام عليك الشفاع في القيامة، صلى الله عليه، السلام على المتوج بالكرام.
But you're just going for a